Welcome to the deep dive. Today, we're going to be diving into the world of mobile advertising.
Ooh, sounds interesting.
Yeah, it should be pretty fascinating stuff with Aflle India Limited.
Okay.
They've been, making some serious waves lately.
Right, yeah.
You sent over their Q1 FY 2025 earnings call transcript,
Yeah.
and it is packed with insights.
Yeah, it really is.
Lots of juicy stuff to dig into.
This transcript's really cool because you can see how well Aflle is doing,
Mhm.
but also you get a sense of, like the big picture, like
Yeah.
what's happening in the whole mobile ad landscape.
Right.
So we're talking Google and those third-party cookies.
Right, exactly. All that stuff, yeah.
All the privacy stuff, the whole shebang, yeah.
So Aflle is celebrating 5 years as a public company,
Wow.
and they're not just toasting with champagne.
Yeah.
They're celebrating big time with some really incredible numbers.
Yeah, tell me about it.
Like seriously.
6 times revenue growth.
Wow.
5 times profitability growth.
That's crazy.
And get this, their market cap has jumped 10 times
10 times.
in just the last 5 years.
That's wild.
Yeah.
That's insane.
That's not just growth. That's like,
It's an explosion.
yeah, an explosion. It's like going to the moon.
Exactly.
So what are they doing right?
Well, it seems like Aflle is
Yeah.
they're really focused on the consumer, what they call consumer-centric platform offerings.
Okay.
So it's all about like figuring out what users want
Mm-hmm.
and making sure they get it.
Right.
But they've also been smart, I think, about focusing on the right industries,
Okay.
the ones that are growing really fast.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, they've made some strategic acquisitions too.
Right. So they're not afraid to
Mm.
kind of get out there and make some moves to kind of
Absolutely.
grow their business.
They're steering the ship,
Yeah. Yeah.
They're not just along for the ride.
They're not passive. Yeah, exactly.
Right.
So they've got a plan.
But they haven't been totally immune to all the changes in the industry, right?
Right.
I mean, what about this whole Google situation
Mm-hmm.
with third-party cookies and all this talk about privacy?
Okay, well.
How has that affected Aflle?
This is where it gets really interesting.
Okay.
You know how everyone was freaking out about Google
Yeah,
getting rid of third-party cookies?
right.
Well, actually, Google decided not to do it just yet.
Oh, really?
Yeah, they pushed back their privacy sandbox project.
Oh, okay.
But here's the thing.
Right.
Aflle isn't really all that reliant on those cookies anyway.
Oh,
Yeah, most of their business is based on what they call on-device and in-app experiences.
so they're like totally insulated from all this cookie drama?
Pretty much.
That's got to be a big advantage in this climate.
Oh, absolutely.
I mean, while everyone else is scrambling, they're just kind of like,
Yeah, they're chilling.
Yeah.
Sipping their tea.
exactly.
This actually isn't the first time they've dealt with privacy changes.
Right.
Back in 2021 when Apple came out with all those iOS privacy updates,
Oh, right.
Apple was like, bring it on.
Wow.
I mean, they've got all these patents, even some in generative AI.
Really?
And their platform is designed with privacy in mind from the get-go.
So they're like ahead of the curve.
It seems like it.
Yeah, that's impressive.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, well, that's super interesting. But let's get down to brass tacks here.
Okay.
How did Aflle actually perform in Q1 of FY 2025?
All right.
Because those 5-year numbers are dazzling.
Right.
But what about recent performance?
Buckle up,
Okay.
because it was a record-breaking quarter for Aflle.
Wow.
They hit their highest quarterly revenue run rate ever.
Okay.
Their EBITDA is through the roof.
What?
And they had more consumer conversions than ever before.
So record-breaking revenue, profitability, and conversions?
Yep, all three.
That's insane.
Pretty impressive, right?
So what are the actual numbers?
All right, so their revenue jumped 27.8% year over year
Okay.
to hit ours, $5,195 million. But what I really think is interesting is their CPCU.
Their CPCU.
Yeah, it stands for cost per converted user.
Okay.
So basically, how much they spend to get each user to actually do something,
Ah, so not just looking at the ads, but actually like
You're right.
taking an action.
Exactly, like buying something or signing up for something.
Right. That's the dream for advertisers.
Absolutely.
Get those conversions.
So they had 90.8 million conversions
Oh.
at a CPCU of ours, 57,
Okay.
which translates to a whopping ours,
Mhm.
5,177 million in revenue.
Wow.
And that's just from those converted users.
Okay.
Well, and that's a 37% jump year over year.
That's incredible.
So they're really good at targeting the right users
Yeah.
and getting them to actually take action.
So they're efficient.
Very efficient.
Okay.
Mhm.
So where's all this growth coming from?
Well, it's a mix,
Okay.
which I think is what makes it even more impressive.
Right.
India and global emerging markets are still their bread and butter,
Okay.
bringing in 73.2% of their quarterly revenue, with 24.8% year-over-year growth.
Okay, so still strong growth in those markets.
Yeah, definitely.
But are they just a big fish in a small pond?
Well, no, actually, because
Okay.
they're seeing fantastic growth in developed markets, too.
Really?
Yeah, like a 36.9% jump year over year.
Wow.
Developed markets now make up 26.8% of their revenue.
So they're not just a one-hit wonder.
No, they're global.
Yeah, they're killing it everywhere.
Mm-hmm.
It's like a growth symphony.
I like that.
But let's not get ahead of ourselves here.
Okay.
I mean, they're clearly doing a lot of things right.
Right.
But I'm seeing some buzzwords in this transcript too.
Oh, yeah.
Like premium inventory
Yeah.
and strategic partnerships.
Right, right.
What's the strategy there?
Well, I think this is their secret sauce.
Okay.
This is how they plan to keep growing in the long term.
Okay.
It's all about moving towards premium inventory,
Okay.
making smart partnerships.
Mm.
They even got a deal with TCL.
TCL.
Yeah, the Android TV people.
Oh, right.
So they're focusing on quality, reaching those higher-end users.
But what's the benefit of that?
Well, think about it.
Yeah.
If you're reaching people who are more likely to buy stuff,
Mm-hmm.
you can charge more for advertising.
Right, because those high-value customers are worth more.
Exactly.
Advertisers.
So it's not just about being fancy, it's about
Right.
being strategic.
Yeah, it's about the bottom line, ultimately.
And it helps their profit margins too.
Okay.
And it kind of creates a moat around their business.
Right. So it's like a competitive advantage.
Yeah,
They're differentiating themselves.
exactly.
That's smart.
Yeah, it's like they're playing chess
Mm-hmm.
while everyone else is playing checkers.
I like that analogy a lot.
Okay. They're thinking ahead.
Several moves ahead.
And it's clearly working.
Right.
I mean, the transcript really highlights their commitment to sustainable growth,
Okay.
gradually increasing those profit margins,
Mhm.
and ultimately making sure their shareholders are happy.
Right, because that's ultimately what it's all about
Yeah.
as a business.
Yeah.
Is keeping those shareholders happy.
They're striking that balance,
Yeah.
between growing quickly
Right.
and being profitable.
Which can be tough to do,
Oh, it definitely can.
especially when they're investing so much in this premium inventory and data.
Mm-hmm.
But can they keep this up?
That's the million-dollar question, right?
Yeah, I mean, 20% growth every year.
Well, they seem pretty confident about it.
Duh.
They're saying they can maintain that 20% growth rate,
Wow.
even without making any more acquisitions.
So they're not just relying on buying other companies to grow.
Nope, they're investing in their own future.
That's smart.
Mm-hmm.
So ambitious, but grounded.
Yeah, I like that.
You know, I always like to look at the stories behind the numbers.
Oh, yeah.
The transcript mentions some really cool customer success stories.
Mm,
Everything from financial investments to fashion retail,
yeah.
even those quick commerce apps.
It's pretty diverse, right?
Yeah. What stood out to you about those examples?
What I thought was really cool was how they showed how versatile they are.
Yeah.
They can work with all kinds of businesses.
Right. It's not just one specific industry.
Nope. They're proving they can get results
Yeah.
for all sorts of different clients.
That's a good sign.
Yeah, and they even snuck in a little shout out to their generative AI solutions.
Oh, yeah. They're not shy about the AI, are they?
Well, it's a hot topic right now,
For sure.
and they want everyone to know that they're on top of it.
Yeah, they're using the latest and greatest.
Exactly.
So we've covered a lot of ground here.
We have.
What's the big takeaway so far?
Well, I think the most important thing is this.
Oh.
Aflle isn't just surviving in this crazy digital world.
Mhm.
They're thriving.
Yeah, they're not just keeping up. They're like,
They're setting the pace. They're
Mhm.
focused on the consumer. Their
Mm.
smart partnerships.
yeah,
Their willingness to embrace new technologies.
yeah,
It's all coming together.
that's the recipe for success.
But I also think it's important to remember
Yeah,
that they're not just focused on growth at any cost.
right.
It's about smart, sustainable growth.
They want to be profitable
Exactly.
in the long run.
And they've got a clear vision for
Yeah.
the future of mobile advertising.
They seem to know what they're doing.
They do.
All right. Well, what stands out to you?
I think for me, it's their ability to roll with the punches.
What do you mean?
Well, like, they don't just adapt to change. They actually use it to their advantage.
Like turning lemons into lemonade.
Exactly. Like, remember those privacy initiatives?
Right.
They could have been a disaster.
Yeah.
But instead, they turned them into an opportunity
To innovate.
to stand out.
Mm-hmm.
It's impressive.
It is.
But what's even more impressive, I think, is
Yeah.
that they never lose sight of the consumer.
Right.
In a world that's full of information overload,
Mm.
they're making sure their tech actually helps people.
It's about the human element.
It is.
That's what makes them different. Yeah.
So before we wrap up this part of our deep dive,
Okay.
what are you most interested in learning more about?
Well, you know what I'm really curious about
Yeah.
is how they balance growth and profitability.
Ah, yeah, that's a good one.
They seem to be doing it well,
They do?
but how do they keep that up as they get bigger?
Right. It's easy to lose focus when
Exactly.
you're growing so fast.
So I'm curious to see how they handle that.
Yeah, me too. And I'm also really interested in that generative AI stuff.
Right.
We've only scratched the surface there.
Yeah. There's so much potential.
It could be a total game changer.
Absolutely.
So sounds like we have a lot more to unpack in part 2 of our deep dive.
For sure.
Be sure to join us next time as we dig deeper into the fascinating world of Aflle.
We'll be talking more about their financials, their approach to AI,
Right.
and how they plan to maintain all this momentum.
Can't wait.
See you then.
Welcome back to our deep dive into the world of Aflle.
It's good to be back. Yeah. We left off talking about their financial strategies,
Right.
like how they're balancing this crazy growth with keeping things profitable.
Yeah, it's like walking a tightrope.
It's tricky.
But this transcript gives us some clues, you know?
Oh, yeah.
Like, how are they actually doing it?
Okay, what jumps out at you?
Well, one thing is they really emphasize efficient working capital management.
Okay.
They even mention specifically that there were no major changes in their collection risk.
What does that mean?
Well, basically, they're being really careful about their cash flow
So making sure the money's coming in
and going out. Yeah.
makes sense, especially when you're growing that fast.
Oh, yeah. They need fuel to keep this rocket going.
Exactly. They can't run out of gas.
And don't forget, they're generating cash like crazy.
Right.
Their operations are cash flow positive.
So they're not dependent on outside funding.
Nope, they're self-sufficient.
That's got to be a huge advantage
It is. It gives them so much freedom.
to make their own decisions.
Exactly. They don't have investors breathing down their necks.
Right. Or lenders dictating terms,
So they can make those big strategic investments.
like that move towards premium inventory.
Yeah, exactly. Without putting their whole business at risk.
So smart cash management,
Shush.
strong cash generation, strategic investments. But
Yeah.
what about profitability?
Right.
Are they sacrificing margins to grow this fast?
Well, remember, they had a record-breaking EBITDA this quarter.
Right, they did.
And their EBITDA margin actually expanded to 20.1%.
Okay, so they're getting more profitable.
Yeah, they're figuring out how to grow the bottom line.
Not just the top line.
Exactly.
Investors love that.
They do.
But to really understand what's going on, we got to look at their expenses, right?
Right.
See how they're managing those costs.
Okay, so they break their expenses down into 3 main buckets.
Okay.
Inventory and data costs,
Okay.
employee costs, and other expenses.
Okay, so let's start with the big one. Inventory and data costs.
Right, so this is where they're investing in the data and the platforms they need to reach those high-value customers.
Right, right.
This quarter, that represented 61.6% of their revenue from operations.
That's a lot.
It is.
Over 60% going back into the engine.
That's commitment.
It is. They're not skimping on this.
Nope. They believe in building a strong data infrastructure.
And it's working.
Seems to be.
Okay, what about employee costs?
Oh, yeah. Remember we talked about how they were keeping those pretty stable?
Yeah, they weren't going crazy with hiring.
Right. Well, their employee expenses only went up 4% year over year.
Which is impressive, considering how much they've grown.
Very impressive.
They must be getting more efficient.
Yeah, probably through integrating their acquisitions and using technology to streamline things.
Like that generative AI we talked about.
Could be.
Yeah.
So they're being strategic about scaling their team.
It's not just about adding more people.
Right. It's about
Working smarter, using tech to do more with less. And is that efficiency showing up in those other expenses too?
It is. Those other expenses include things like sales and marketing.
Okay.
And they actually went down to 7% of revenue
Okay.
compared to 7.8% the previous quarter.
So they're getting more efficient with their marketing too.
Yeah, maybe their brand is getting more recognition.
So they don't have to spend as much to get clients.
Could be. Or maybe their reputation is bringing in clients organically.
That's a sign of a company that's really hitting its stride.
Agreed.
Now, there's one thing in the transcript that caught my eye.
Okay.
Their effective tax rate.
Oh, yeah.
It jumped up to 18.7% this quarter.
That's a big increase.
Is that a one-time thing or is something else going on?
They actually addressed this in the earnings call.
Okay, what do they say?
It sounds like this higher tax rate is here to stay.
So it's a permanent change,
Seems like it.
but they don't sound too worried about it.
No, they emphasize that even with this higher tax rate,
Yeah.
their profitability is still strong.
So they're sending a message to investors.
Don't panic.
Everything's under control.
Yeah, we got this.
I like that transparency,
Me too.
especially when it comes to money matters.
Absolutely.
Now, I want to circle back to something we talked about earlier,
Okay.
that move towards premium inventory
Right.
and those strategic partnerships.
They're all in on this.
They are.
Not messing around.
They're being super selective,
Only the best.
focusing on that high-quality premium inventory.
The kind that reaches those high-value customers.
Right, the ones who are actually going to buy stuff.
Yeah, that deal with TCL is a perfect example.
It is.
But they also talk about working with app stores of original equipment manufacturers.
Like those OEMs?
Yeah,
Okay.
and pushing their iOS-focused platform in those emerging markets.
So they're not just sticking with Android,
No, they're recognizing that iOS is becoming more important.
even in those developing countries.
Yeah, traditionally, Android has dominated those markets.
Right.
But Apple is making some serious gains.
And Apple is ready.
They're ahead of the curve.
Like they have a crystal ball or something.
Right.
So they're partnering with these OEMs to gain access to all that valuable first-party data
Yeah, that gives them even more insight.
into those high-value customers.
It's brilliant. They're using partnerships
Yeah.
to build this network of data and resources.
But how do they actually define premium inventory?
Good question.
Is it just about the device someone's using?
Well, luckily, the transcript gives us some insight.
Okay.
They say that premium isn't just about fancy devices.
Oh.
It's about the context.
So it's not just reaching someone on their iPhone.
Right.
It's about reaching them at the right time,
Yes.
at the right place.
A right message.
So it's all about timing and relevance.
Exactly. And they're using data and AI
To figure that out.
to identify those moments of high intent.
Like when someone's really likely to make a purchase,
They're not just throwing ads out there randomly. They're
Right.
being strategic.
they're making those ads count.
It's like matchmaking.
Between the customer and the advertiser.
Yeah, perfect match.
But with all this talk about premium inventory
Mm-hmm.
and high-value customers,
Right?
are they moving away from those advertisers who want broader reach?
Or those with smaller budgets.
Yeah. Are they narrowing their focus?
Well, I think that's where their emphasis on balance comes in.
Okay.
They're not abandoning those other advertisers. They're
Yeah.
just expanding their offerings.
So they can cater to everyone.
Yeah, whether you want premium conversions
Yeah.
or a broader reach,
They've got you covered.
they're a one-stop shop.
That's smart.
It's classic
It
diversification,
reduces their risk.
and it lets them tap into different revenue streams.
It's impressive how they're managing to grow in both developed and emerging markets at the same time.
I agree.
Okay.
Yeah.
So it's time to talk about the elephant in the room.
The AI.
Yeah. Generative AI.
We've danced around it.
We have.
But now let's dive in.
I'm ready. Let's get specific. Okay, so we're back and ready to dig into this whole generative AI thing.
Yeah, it's exciting stuff.
It is. And you know, it's one thing to talk about it,
Right.
like theoretically,
Yeah, in the abstract.
but it's another thing to see how a company is actually using it.
Yeah, to make a difference.
Right, to get real results.
And that's what I like about this transcript.
Yeah.
They don't just, throw around the term AI to sound cool.
Right.
They actually give us real examples
Okay.
of how they're using it.
So let's get specific.
Right.
What are some of the ways they're leveraging this AI?
Okay, so one of the most interesting applications, I think,
Yeah.
is behind the scenes
Okay.
in their own operations.
So like internally.
Yeah, remember how we talked about their employee costs?
Right. Staying stable.
Even though they're growing so fast?
Yeah, they're not hiring like crazy.
Well, they actually say that AI is a big part of that.
So they're using AI to automate stuff.
Yeah, streamlining their workflows.
So basically doing more with less.
Exactly, being more efficient.
That's smart.
It is.
But they're not just using AI for themselves, right?
No, they're also using it to make their platforms smarter.
Okay. How so?
Well, they talk about using AI to analyze their own performance.
Like in real time?
Yeah, constantly checking the data,
Okay.
seeing what's working, what's not.
So they're always learning
Always adapting,
and improving.
like a feedback loop.
Right. Always tweaking their
As long as
algorithms
they're targeting strategies
so they can respond quickly.
to changes in the market.
They're agile.
Very agile.
It's like they have a superpowered brain working behind the scenes.
I like that.
And this data-driven approach
Yeah,
is how they're using AI to solve real advertising challenges.
right.
They give an example in the transcript.
Yeah.
Their work in the quick commerce sector in India.
Yeah, those like instant delivery apps.
Yeah, exactly.
They're using generative AI to create personalized ad campaigns
Okay, so tailoring those ads
to each individual user.
based on their preferences and shopping habits.
Exactly. So you're not seeing the same ad as everyone else.
Right, it's customized just for you.
And that makes those campaigns way more effective.
Right. People are more likely to click if it's something they're actually interested in.
And that means higher conversion rates.
And a better return on investment.
For their clients.
It's like they're reading minds.
Pretty much.
Showing people exactly what they want.
At the right time.
That's the dream.
It is the holy grail of advertising.
And AI is making it possible.
Yeah, it can analyze huge amounts of data.
Right. Way more than a human could ever do.
And find those hidden patterns.
That lead to insights.
Exactly.
But AI isn't just about crunching numbers, right?
No, it can also be creative.
Oh, really?
Yeah, Aflle is using it to come up with new ad formats.
Okay.
And messaging.
So making those ads more engaging.
Yeah, they want those ads to stand out.
To grab your attention.
Make you remember them.
So they're using AI to make their ads smarter, more personalized, and more creative.
Yeah, it's a powerful combination.
But what does this mean for the future of Aflle?
Well, I think this is just the tip of the iceberg. As AI gets more advanced, Affle's going to find even more ways to use it.
To create value.
For their clients and for themselves.
They're definitely pushing the boundaries.
Oh, yeah. They're not afraid to experiment.
But there are potential challenges with AI, right?
Of course there are.
What kind of hurdles do you think they might face?
Well, one of the biggest concerns with AI is bias.
Right.
AI algorithms are only as good as the data they're trained on.
So if the data is biased...
Your AI will be biased too.
And that could lead to problems.
Yeah, like unfair or even discriminatory outcomes.
Right. That's something we need to be very careful about.
Absolutely. And it's a responsibility that Aflle takes seriously.
Okay, good.
They know they need to make sure their data is diverse and representative.
So the AI doesn't learn the wrong lessons.
Exactly.
It's not just about the tech. It's about using it ethically,
Right.
responsibly.
Yeah, it's about doing the right thing.
And transparency is important too.
Oh, definitely. People need to know how these AI systems are making decisions.
Because it can feel like a black box sometimes.
Yeah, you don't know what's going on inside.
Even the people who build these models
Don't always understand how they work.
it can be a little scary.
It can, and that can lead to distrust.
Right. Especially when it comes to advertising.
Yeah, because those decisions can affect people's lives.
So Affle's committed to making their AI systems more transparent.
Yeah, they want people to understand how those decisions are made.
Both their clients and the users.
It's about building trust.
Making sure people feel confident.
That their data is being used ethically.
Right.
And that's going to be key for Affle's success.
I think you're right.
As AI becomes more common in advertising,
Yeah.
trust and transparency are going to be huge.
That's what's going to set companies apart.
The good guys from the bad guys.
So as we wrap up this deep dive into the world of Aflle,
Yeah.
I think it's safe to say they're not just embracing the future.
No, they're shaping it.
They're out there on the cutting edge,
Innovating.
pushing the boundaries.
And their use of AI is a big part of that.
It shows how forward-thinking they are.
They're not afraid to experiment.
To try new things.
To stay ahead of the curve.
It's been a fascinating journey.
Yeah.
Exploring their story.
They're a company to watch for sure.
Absolutely. And now it's your turn, dear listener.
What do you think?
What will you be keeping an eye on as Aflle continues to grow?
What aspects of their strategy or their technology
Intrigue you the most?
let us know.
We'd love to hear your thoughts.
Until next time, keep exploring
Keep questioning.
and keep diving deep into the world around you.